They
Oh, I forgot it's your squad.
They
your squads on Thursday Night Football. I thought I would have had to do the show by myself.
No,
I know. We considered going. Considered going, but it's expensive, and I want to like you can't. It's not the same. Like you can't see it, and but yeah, hopefully we get this win because I feel like doesn't this game seal?
We're done. NFC West is wrapped up. NFC West is wrapped up. You got to come. You got to come to Santa Clara if you're trying to get to the bowl game.
Purdy to Kittle.
Yes.
Purdy to Kittle.
He's good, right? Like it's
I'm
not just
this guy. Purdy.
This mirage. Like this guy's good.
Tone, I don't want to hear that from you. You know why I don't want to hear that from you in particular?
I said, how do you feel? I'm just asking.
No, because let me tell you why. Because we had this conversation last week. I'm about to start cussing. You know why? Because your face was scrunched up last week, and now all of a sudden he kind of looks like he knows what he's doing, and he looks like he's winning you over. Tone. That's what he looks like he's doing.
All I asked was, what do you think about him?
I told you what I thought about him.
Too early to tell. So we've seen so many quarterbacks go on a 1-2 game run.
Correct.
We've seen. The Ryan Tannehill, when he first got to Tennessee, looked good. We saw Baker Mayfield look good last week at the end for the Rams. We've seen Ryan Fitzpatrick go on runs. So all I'm saying is,
Tone, I'm not saying that he's a franchise quarterback. No, I'm not. There's a reason why he's the third string quarterback. Because the other two, because the other two guys in front of him were better, right? Because the other two guys in front of him are better, no doubt about that. However, he just looks like he knows what he's doing, Tone. That's all. Yeah. He looks like he looks like he's got command of the offense, and not Jimmy G or Dak or Eli Manning command of the offense, but more like I got it. You can give me the ball. I'll figure it out. But I'm not going to kill us. That kind of command of the offense.
Hey, you go. Listen, you go opening drive, divisional matchup.
Yep.
On the road in Seattle. I know it's not the same Seattle defense of old, but you open up. Going 9 for 9, 73 yards, and you throw a touchdown.
Yeah,
it's a little eye-opening, Tone. That's all I'm saying.
It's the right way to start. It's the right way to start.
And by the way, Tone.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, Tone, just so you know, in Seattle, they own us. When we go up to Seattle, we get stomped. Yeah. We don't lose up in Seattle. Like there were years where, even when we was going to the bowl game, there were years when I just scratched that game off because I just knew that it was going to be either a 10-point to 2 touchdown lead that we're going to go up there and get stomped. I just knew that. But
it's a different quarterback. It's different. It's different. So I think I'm just jumping the gun, but I'm going to give credit. I like Purdy. I'm going to say I've what the little I've seen of Brock, I think I like more than what I saw of Trey. Maybe that's not fair. And no, obviously I like Trey. But I like Purdy. I think we should.
I'm not a Trey guy. I'm not a Trey guy. I was never. I didn't like the draft pick. I didn't like it at all. Not to say that I like Purdy better. I haven't seen enough of him. I'll start by saying this. One, yes, we're going to get into basketball, but you have 2 49ers fans, and the Niners are playing right now, and they start.
Don't worry, we're getting into it. Yeah, we're getting into it.
Geno Smith on the other side of the football.
Yeah, you doubted. Both of you doubted him, didn't you?
Well, it looks like he's coming back down to earth. No,
I'm not gonna say coming down to earth, Tone, but
his last game wasn't good.
He doesn't suck though. That's the difference.
He doesn't suck.
Because there was a long time where the logic on Geno was he was a bust, and he gets into this system, right? He gets into this system with Carroll, and he doesn't suck. He looks really good. But I want to rewind the clock really quick to what you just said, Tone. You didn't like this Trey Lance pick, and can you get it? What was your issue with it?
Trey Lance didn't play enough football.
Mm-hmm.
Was he North Dakota?
North Dakota State.
What did he play? 5 minutes?
12 games.
I
think no, not 12. I'm sorry. I think he had 20 starts. Coming into this season, he had 20 starts.
There you go. So 20 starts. So when someone doesn't play, I got burnt in Chicago with Mitch, who didn't play a lot of college ball. If you haven't shown me in college, how can I expect you? The leap from college to the pros is so big, especially at the quarterback position, that it makes me wonder, are you ready? They didn't start him. They didn't start him for a reason. They kept Jimmy G for a reason. And so I was like, okay, so the coaches see it in practice that he's not ready. So it looked like it was really forced this year. And so a guy who didn't play in college, who I think got drafted too early ahead of some guys that now we've seen are better than him. He's sitting. I just think it's fine. That's not a first. That's not a second. What was he? Second, third overall?
Second pick overall.
Second pick overall. So it's either take him later, or just make that plan of, hey, he's sitting for the first 2-3 years and then move on.
So is it?
That was my thing. That was my thing with him.
So is it fair to say, Tone, that when you get a guy like Brock who is labeled, right? He's labeled as the number 3 guy, but I already got the number 2 pick in the draft. Add that to the fact that I already had a starting quarterback who took us to the bowl game. Is this guy Brock, who looks more seasoned, to be quite honest with you, Tone? I mean, he's a 4-year starter at Iowa State, started right from the door. Is it fair to say that he didn't get a fair look
in the for the 49ers in the offseason?
That's what I'm talking about.
Probably. It's not that he didn't. Yes, but it's probably because everyone had kind of said the consensus are, listen, we're moving on from Jimmy G.
Yep.
Trey's going to be our starter, so I bet he got all the first team reps.
Right.
And then when they realized, oh, Jimmy's coming back, he got all the second team reps.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough when it's the scout team, right? He's pretending to be a quarterback from another team, trying to run another team's offense. For those that don't know, that's what kind of the third string quarterback does.
Right.
So you don't really see what he can do. It's rare. And then you're right, obviously injury happens. Now he comes in and hey, he grasped this offense very well. Mm-hmm. They've got some good offensive minds over there. So, hey, it looks good. Again, I warn you, it's early. It's still early.
Tone, I'm not. Hold on. He's not getting the key to my house. He's not moving in.
That's all I'm saying.
We just went on a couple dates. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all we're doing. I'm not giving him the key to the house. He's not moving in. I'm not changing his name and putting it on the mailbox. No, I'm not doing that. No, relax.
Well, two things. One, has a third string quarterback ever taken a team to the Super Bowl?
A third string QB, has he ever taken a team to the bowl game?
Because I didn't look it up. It was just something I was thinking about when I saw Brock. And I hope that I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm not jinxing anything. I'm not saying Jimmy's not coming back, but I just wonder if that's something that's ever occurred.
Backups have, and undrafted guys have. Right. Backups have done that, and undrafted guys have done that. But a third string guy, I don't know if a third string guy has ever actually done that.
Taken to a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl,
taken him to the bowl game. Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think.
All
right. So do this, Tone. How about this? How about we run down? So in the last 40 years, what are we in 2022? So since 1982, right? Since 1982, Joe Montana was drafted in the 3rd round. He was the quarterback. Boomer Esiason.
Well, hold on. It's easier. We can go Super Bowl 1. Okay, no, go ahead. You finish.
Okay, so Joe Montana and Boomer Esiason. Boomer Esiason was the guy right from the beginning. Then you go to 83. I believe that was not Boomer Esiason. That was him and Marino.
It was
that was him and Marino. Ken Anderson was first. I'm talking about him and Marino. That's what I'm talking about. Him and Marino in 84, right? And then in 85, that was the Raiders, and that was Washington. That wasn't Jay Schrader.
Raiders and Washington. Okay, 84. Mm-hmm. The game was played in 84.
Both of those dudes were starters. 86, Phil Simms. He was not a backup. Phil Simms wasn't a backup. John Elway wasn't a backup. 87.
No. Hold on. I think you missed a year. 82. So the 81 season ended in 82. That was San Francisco, Cincinnati.
Okay, that's
been, Joe Montana and
Ken. Nope, that's Ken Anderson. Boomer. I think it was Ken Anderson.
Okay.
Boomer didn't come till later.
All right, the next year is Washington, Miami.
Which
is Marino and.
Not Washington, Miami. 49ers in Miami.
No, Washington, Miami.
Miami only went to the bowl game one time. They went to the bowl game against the 49ers.
Washington, Miami in 1983, which was the 82 season.
Miami was in the bowl game one time. That was it. And that was against the 49ers. I remember that for a fact.
I'm looking at it right now.
Washington played against the Raiders in the bowl game.
That was the next year. So Washington beats Miami. Then the Raiders beat Washington 38-9.
The Raiders beat Washington.
Yes, we're in Los Angeles. Then the next year is San Francisco, Miami.
Okay. They don't have Marino yet. They got Marino now. Now they got Marino.
That's the 84. They have Marino.
Now they got Marino. Okay.
Yeah, they got Marino. Then the next year's it's the Bears in New England.
Okay.
McMahon was the starter. So
McMahon, yep.
Yeah, the starters. Then you got the Giants beating Denver.
Phil Simms and Elway.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Washington destroying Denver.
That's Doug Williams and Elway again.
Doug Williams, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got San Francisco beating Cincinnati. So that's
Montana and Boomer Esiason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both starters. Then you got San Francisco again spanking Denver 55-10.
The Super Bowl record, by the way.
That's Elway, and that's Elway and Montana again.
Elway and Montana again.
Mm-hmm. Then you got the Giants and the Bills. Wide right.
That was hot. That was Hostetler. He was a backup because Phil Simms got hurt. That's Hostetler and Jim Kelly. Kelly was the starter.
Yeah, and then we got this is the Buffalo run, right? So then you got Washington. So the Giants beat the Buffalo. Washington beats Buffalo.
Mark Rickman,
starter, and Kelly starter. And Kelly. Dallas 52-17.
Troy Aikman, he was a starter.
Yep, and starter. Then Dallas 30-13. So they beat Buffalo in back-to-back seasons. Now Frank Wright, the backup, does play playoff games and gets in there. Kelly is in the Super Bowl. So again, but a backup, not a third string.
Right.
Then you got San Francisco, San Diego.
That's Steve Young.
That's the Steve Young monkey off the back.
That's Steve Young.
Dallas, Pittsburgh. That's
Troy Aikman, and he went to the Jets. What's his name? Not Bubby Brister. He ended up going to the Jets. He was gone.
In 96.
Yeah, he ended up he played for the Steelers and then ended up going to the Jets. His name escapes me. I'm sorry.
It's okay. And then you got Green Bay, New England.
Yep, that would be Favre and Bledsoe.
Yeah, in 97.
Yep.
Then you got Denver, Green Bay.
That's
I said that already. Actually, Denver, Atlanta.
That's Elway and Chandler. Chandler was the starter.
Denver, Atlanta. Although Atlanta lost, I love that team. That was the team. I don't know if you remember. Jerry Glanville sent the entire. They all dressed in all black, and they sent the entire team to take the coin flip.
That wasn't Jerry Glanville. That was Dan Reeves. That was the Dirty Bird. Yeah, and I'm out on Atlanta.
Was I young?
I'm out on Atlanta, and
I'm sure my age.
And H Boogie will dig me on this. I'm out on Atlanta because the only reason why they was in the bowl game because Garrison Hurst broke his ankle in the divisional game against them. Because if he doesn't break his ankle, we beat them and we back in the bowl game.
I knew there was something to do with San Francisco there. St. Louis, Tennessee.
That would be Kurt Warner and why am I thinking about my man from Alcorn State?
Isn't it Steve McNair?
Steve McNair. That's what I'm thinking about from Alcorn State. Steve McNair. Yep.
Baltimore. Then Baltimore again against the Giants.
Trent Dilfer and Kerry Collins, both starters.
Both starters. Yeah. We'll go. I'll try to go a little bit faster. Where was I?
A little bit faster.
New England, St. Louis. We said that one. Tampa Bay, Oakland.
Yep.
Starters. New England, Philadelphia. Where they beat Philadelphia, and that's Donovan McNabb, Tom Brady.
Yep.
Okay. Then Pittsburgh, Seattle. That's Roethlisberger at that point, I think. In 2006. Okay.
And Hassel.
Yeah. Then the Colts. Manning beats the Bears.
Grossman, you love Rex.
Sadly, Rex Grossman was the starter, so you
love Rex. You love him.
Then you got Giants surprising New England. That's Eli Manning, Tom Brady. We know that one. Pittsburgh, Arizona is again Roethlisberger, Kurt Warner in Arizona at that point. New Orleans, Breeze beats Indianapolis beats
Colts.
Manning.
Yeah, the Manning.
Yeah, and then Green Bay, Pittsburgh starters. The Giants beat New England starters. Baltimore, San Francisco, Seattle, Denver.
Yep, all starters.
8. Ugh.
Yeah, that was ugly.
New England, Seattle starters. Denver, Carolina. That was the Cam Newton year, right?
Yep.
So he's the starter. New England, Atlanta, Philadelphia, New England.
Yep. All starters.
Philadelphia, New England was Nick Foles, but
back up,
third string.
Not a third guy.
Yeah. Then New England beats Jared Goff and the Rams.
Yep.
The Kansas City, we know, beats San Francisco. Sorry, guys. Tampa Bay beats Kansas City. And then the Rams beat Cincinnati. So, no, I don't think a third stringer has ever.
In the last 40 years, H.
Last
40 years, I can remember. I can't remember. We've seen backups and we've seen undrafted guys. I have not seen a third string guy. So
I Googled it too.
Yeah.
It looks like not. So who knows? Maybe this could be the first year, but we're getting too ahead of ourselves. But real quick, give me your Super Bowl predictions if they've changed or if they remain the same. Mine since the offseason has been a Chiefs versus 49ers rematch.
That's what I think it is.
That's what I've said from the get-go, and things have fallen into place. So I'm sticking with that, Jay.
That's where I'm at too. I think it's a rematch. I think we get them in the bowl game this year.
I like it.
Yep.
You're picking. Hold on. I just want to be clear on the homer picks here. You're picking Kansas City, San Francisco, and
we get them.
And the 49ers.
We got a rematch. Yep, and we get them this year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, you guys are very Homer-ish.
Homer.
Hey, we can't.
First of all, Tom, if I'm not mistaken, before the season started, did you and me not have a conversation about where I thought my Niners were going to be at the end of the year?
We've had this I remember we've had this. It's documented. We've got.
I had the Niners in the bowl game, and and hold on, Tom, you a Bears fan, and you didn't have the Bears.
Be a homer.
Yeah, you didn't have the Bears in the bowl game. You had Buffalo in the bag. You had Buffalo.
I had Buffalo. Yeah, I
had Buffalo in the bowl game.
You still have
I had Buffalo. I had Buffalo beating Tampa at the beginning of the season.
Right. Okay. Which still could happen. It could.
Possible.
Can I read something to you guys real quick?
But not.
Can I read something to you guys real quick? All right. Yes. In Tom Brady's career, his biggest losses of his career, and guys, I see the chat. We're gonna get to your super chats and we're gonna get to basketball, I promise. In Tom Brady's career, his 4 biggest losses of his career: 31-0 in 2003 Buffalo. At the hands of the Bills.
Buffalo, I remember that.
He went on to win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
In 2014, he lost to the Chiefs 41-14.
They win the bowl game that year.
He wins the bowl. He wins the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
In 2020, as a Buccaneer, he loses 38-3 to the Bucks. They win the Super Bowl.
You mean to the Saints? They got stomped by them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's on the Bucks and they lose to the Saints. Yes,
38-3. I remember that.
Brady wins the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
His 4th biggest loss of his career.
Last week.
35-7.
Stop. To the Niners. My boy.
You're giving major Skip vibes right now. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I'm not listening to him either, H. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that at all.
Listen, I'll stick with because I don't want to flip flop. I'll stay consistent. Right. I'll stay Bills in Tampa.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll say this. If I was allowed to make a change, 49ers are playing the best football right now that I could see. But I'm gonna go Chiefs and Eagles just to be different and go against you two guys with the 49ers. But the 49ers are playing some great football.
Wait, you said Chiefs? You said you would go Chiefs, Eagles. You wouldn't stick with the Bills.
No. I got a lot of question marks about the Bills right now.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Josh
Allen's had so many turnovers, and
to win in the playoffs, you got to win 1-score games.
You have to.
You have to.
You're not going to blow everybody out. You're not.
Games. Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah, they have a problem winning 1-score games, so that's where my issue is. Do you guys want to jump into our topics or into some super chats?
Let's do some super chats.
We got
there's a ton. Yeah. First of all, what's up, chat? We didn't even say hi. Obviously, we have the game going on tonight, so we had to get into that real quick. But get those likes up, and yeah, we'll jump into a super chat.
All right, we'll jump in. Here we go.
It's my daughter's birthday. I want to give her a shout out.
Oh yeah, happy birthday! What's your daughter's name?
Terrell Christine. Today, her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Happy birthday.
Hey, on her birthday, my son got his first 3 stitches.
Oh,
what did he do?
We were playing a little ball. He tried to reverse layup on me. I gave him a little bump.
Not
gonna lie. He
fell. He'll live.
He'll live. Got a little cut on the back of his head. Got 3 stitches. He took it like a champ, though. I got to tell you.
Okay.
He jumped right back up. He goes, "Okay, let's go." And I said, "All right, good job." And as I kind of tapped him on the back of the head, I saw blood on my hand, and I'm like, "Oh, you should probably check this out." We look, and it's like a gash. So I was like, "I'm him in for a couple of stitches."
Sew him up.
But yeah, no. And he's like, I go, "You good?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm good. Let's go." He's got a tournament this weekend, 5 games. I'm like, "You good to play?" He goes, "Yeah." Headband, cover that up. Let's go.
No. What position does he play, or is it? Does he have anything? How old is he? He's in middle school.
8. He's 8.
Oh, he's 8.
Yeah, he's 8.
Oh, he's 8. Oh.
I think I fouled him so hard. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so let's go with it. I think this is sorry, fellas. This is Travis Lindsay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Travis. Sorry, fellas, I just bought my first house. Hey, at 23, congratulations.
Nice job, yo.
Nice.
Nice
Me
job.
and my family have been moving. Sorry, I've been missing the shows.
We still here, my man. We still here.
Good.
We still here, my man.
Hey, we're also available, Travis. You can definitely go to Apple Music, Spotify, Audible, hit Fluent and Chill, and you can listen while you pack.
We still here, yo. We ain't going nowhere. We still here.
Yeah, I know you want to see me because I'm pretty, but other than that, you can move on. Leaf Diggy, I think this one's for you. This one's for you, Chill. All right, old head Chill. I've been waiting for over a week to talk to you personally.
Ooh.
A few things we gotta settle. The Niners will be fine. Stop worrying.
I'm not stressing that. Yeah, I ain't stressing that at all.
Leaf Diggy's gonna jump on. I think if we open it up, we have time to open it up to the audience at the end of the show. Leaf Diggy will be on one of them. Guys, so you know, in the new year, we're going to be bringing you guys on more and more to talk, but there is a caveat. I will be sending out the link at 8:30 in the chat, and you can come in and be pre-screened, and you'll have to. I don't know if you've ever called into a radio show. You sit in the queue, and then I'll pull you up after I pre-screen you. All right.
That means trolls, no trolls. We done on you. You whack. You get to the door, and then you get the door shut on you.
Yeah,
any trolls will be sent back under the bridge.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
All right. Z-Dub. Warriors making the playoffs with Curry out a few weeks.
I'll take this one.
You gotta take it. All right, go ahead.
I'll take this one. All right. So first of all, RIP to my team. It's been a tough day for me. I'll be honest. So I need this Niners win. But yeah, obviously we got the news about Steph. I want to hear about your opinions. But for me, it was not that bad of news. In fact, I think this could even be a good thing for the team. And you might think I'm crazy because the team looks like absolute garbage on the road and even a little bit at home. But hopefully this can, especially for like Jordan Poole, I think this is going to click something in his head and he's going to start being more consistent. Clay, we'll see. I think that Jordan's going to be that kind of that leader that we're going to see. But I also believe that we need to make a trade. So that's how I feel. I don't know how you guys feel about Wiseman. For me, my theory is that we're going to trade Wiseman. Mm-hmm. I think that we're putting him in the G League, helping his skill set develop, but also protecting him from any major injuries so that he has more trade value. Right. I don't know how much he really has, but that's how I feel about that.
Well, the problem, H, is that the second unit is where the issue is. Your 5 starters weren't the problem. Your 5 starters, in fact, when they were on the floor, they were the best in the NBA, right? But now your best player is now out of the lineup. So now you don't replace, Tony, you and me have had this conversation plenty of times when guys go down. You don't just replace 30 a game. No. Yeah. And it's not a collection of guys that just replace 30 a game. Now, Andrew Wiggins is going to have to step his game up, right? But the game looks different now because we were running the offense through Steph Curry. So now, who are we going to run the offense through? You're going to run the offense through Klay Thompson. And if you're going to run the offense through him, that means that we got to get a lot more action off the basketball for him, right? And not only do we have to get a lot more action off the basketball, we got to play more defense to speed the game up. That means Draymond got to step up, right? That means Andrew Wiggins has got to step up. And add that to the fact that we may have to get Wiseman back in the lineup because we're going to need that rebounding. We're going to need that rim protector that nobody has seemed to see in him yet. H, I already told you, the Warriors got me thinking this dude can't play. They do. They got me thinking that this dude can't play.
Well, just leave him. Like, stop bringing up and down. Like, what does that do to his mindset? You know what I'm saying?
Is your coach strong enough with the X's and O's to do what he absolutely has to do here, which is completely change their offense and defensive schemes to fit the personnel that he has? Because the last time we saw someone was out, they did not. Like when Clay was out and Curry, okay, granted, it's your 2 best players. They won, 5 games?
When? You mean in 2021?
Yeah.
Because last season, it actually was the best thing for them, I think, when Steph was out. And then Draymond had that back injury. But again, I agree with you. Like, it was. We wouldn't. I think that was what helped Jordan to take the steps. Enough? Yeah, okay. I do. But I agree.
H, first of all, don't let Tone off the hook with that. Tone does not like your coach. He thinks he's just a manager.
Why?
He does not think that Steve Kerr is an X and O guy.
I think he's very well. Listen, I had your boy or your man. I don't want to boy because he's a grown man. I don't want to call him boy. Rufus tell me that Steve Kerr's a better coach than friggin' Greg Popovich.
And Phil too, by the way.
I want to say that's a little overrating. That's a little bit overrating.
But I think he's up there. I
don't know that he is. Like, has he? He's never.
We talked about this because we talked about Mark Jackson.
I guess it's the same thing with Phil, right? With Phil Jackson, he's always had Jordan, Pippen, Kobe, Shaq. Like, he's always had a top 10 player in the league. So, and Kerr has been the same way. Excuse me. So it's tough to judge a coach that has that much talent.
Right.
So that's.
Yeah.
Well, see, and I tend to go the other way with that, Tone. And the reason why I tend to go the other way with that is because a wise woman once told me anybody can train a secretary. You can screw them up too, though. So if you got that kind of talent, it's not a shoo-in that this thing is going to work. You can wreck this thing. You can absolutely wreck this thing. And Steve Kerr has done a great job at managing these guys. I think that's where he gets that from Phil, right? The managing part, he gets that from Phil. And they don't really do a lot of stuff in terms of X's and O's. They do a lot of off-ball stuff, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? They do a lot of off-ball action. No, they not necessarily quick three because they play in transition in the league plays that anyway. Right. Right. A free flow in motion offense. Right. But what I think he does more than anything is he keeps them disciplined on offense. Listen, it's not a lot of one-on-one action. You get the basketball 2-3 dribbles tops. Do something with it or get off of it and keep the ball moving. And if you keep the ball moving, you keep the defense off balance. You keep the defense off balance, then that's a good thing for you. I think that's a good part of him. I think that's a good part for Steve Kerr. However, when we get into stuff like, we're in the middle of the third quarter and you need to draw something up, now it might get a little bit challenging for some people like Tone, who looks at Steve Kerr like, can you draw something up in the middle of the fourth quarter, the meat and potatoes of the game, and get us a good look? That's the question. But I've seen Steve Kerr. He's done some good things with this group. So I'm not on Tone page about him being a little overrated.
So we're gonna talk. Listen, we're gonna talk about Curry and the Warriors a lot. So what I want to do is I'm gonna go through I'm gonna pick some of the super chats that are quick, rapid fire to catch up, and then we'll get into the first topic.
Yep.
So first, obviously, Travis Lindsay been on Players Choice Gridiron College Football Show. I don't know if y'all have seen.
No.
I don't watch college football
Me neither.
often, but Travis, if you're on, I'll check it out some more.
Yep.
Let's see. This one's quick. I don't know. We need discussion. Who's y'all sports PSP? Who is your NFL MVP?
Had Tua not gotten hurt, he would have been at the top of the list. But I think it's Jalen Hurts right now.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts. Both of you say Jalen Hurts.
I think it's Jalen Hurts right now.
I'm gonna go off script because I'm gonna go with a position that in all the years that the NFL has given away the MVP award has never won an MVP, and I think it's about time that they give one.
I'm loving this. Yes. And
just think about this. When I tell you this position that's never gotten a place kicker has won MVP. A damn place kicker and a wide receiver has never won. So what Tyreek Hill has done in Miami to help Tua, and what everybody thought, when he's out of Kansas City, he's not going to do anything. He's done. Tyreek Hill, I think, has to get some serious consideration. And I'm with you. If Tua didn't get hurt, I would have said Tua, but because he had missed games and down the stretch now he's had two kind of not lackluster games against San Francisco and the Chargers, so that's going to hurt. But I think Tyreek Hill just you got to start giving these guys some love. Like, just think about that. Not once, Megatron, Cooper Kupp, Triple Crowns, not even a whiff.
I'm 100% confident telling that Jerry Rice won the league MVP in 1989. I'm 100% confident.
Not the
either 88 or 89. I'm 100% confident Jerry Rice won the league MVP.
I'm gonna look it up.
And Tyreek will probably win Offensive Player of the Year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can you win both? I feel like they're just.
In what year you said?
I think it was 88 or 89. One of them two.
Boomer Esiason in 88, Joe Montana in 89.
So Jerry Rice won. Did he win Offensive Player of the Year?
Yeah, maybe. Like if you look, it's running back. It's Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Paul Hungren, Jim Taylor, Y.A. Tittle, Johnny Unitas, Jim Brown, Bart Starr, Johnny Unitas, Roman Gabriel, John Brody, Alan Page. That's a defensive tackle, by the way. The rest were all QBs and running backs. Larry Brown, O.J. Simpson, Ken Stabler, Fran Tarkenton, Burt Jones, Walter Payton, Terry Bradshaw, Earl Campbell, Brian Sipe, Ken Anderson, Mark Mosley in 82. That's the kicker. Joe Theismann, Dan Marino, Marcus Allen, Lawrence Taylor, John Elway, Boomer Esiason, Joe Montana, Thurman Young, Thurman Thomas, Steve Young, Emmett Smith, Steve Young again, Favre, Sanders, Terrell Davis, Kurt Warner, Marshall Falk, Warner, Gannon, Manning, McNair, Manning, Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson, Brady, Manning, Brady, Rogers, Peterson, Manning, Rogers, Newton, Ryan, Brady, Mahomes, Jackson, Rogers.
Jay, he said, chat's saying that I think you're talking about Super Bowl MVPs, so not regular season MVP. So that I think that's probably what you're.
Maybe that's what it is.
So they both got Hurts. I'm going Tyreek Hill. I think he deserves it.
I feel like for everything that Jalen's done, like not only the improvements coming into this season, but also how he's led that team, whether you think they're the real deal or not, their record shows how far they've come. And so for me, I feel like it's hard to dispute that, even if they feel like they haven't been tested to the best of their ability, like other teams may have. But yeah, I like Jalen though.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, Jalen probably will win it just because historically that's what happens. But
yeah,
I played a little wide receiver in high school, so I give some love to the wide receivers. This one should be a quick one. No.
Come on, Dub.
Go ahead next. And now take it away.
I want to see this. Jay and I want to pull up seats and watch it. Just
what's the opposite of yes, Tone?
No.
Yes, that's awesome.
We'll have to figure it out, Dub.
What do we got on tap?
Oh, it's a pick six. Pick six, Gino. Oh man, we right back in the red zone. Nice job, Gino. He just gave us one.
I'm telling you, he's starting to write back.
No, it's a fumble, actually. It wasn't a pick six. It was a fumble. I'm sorry. It was a fumble. Yeah, nice job, yo. It wasn't Gino. No, it wasn't Gino. It wasn't Gino. Okay. It was a fumble. I
was going to say Gino would never.
No, he didn't.
He wouldn't let me down like that.
No, he did not.
All right, you guys, let's just go through this list. So this is the Ringer's top 20 players in the NBA. I'll read them off real quick. Chat, you chime in as well. Tell me if you hear a name missing or a name in there that you don't quite agree with. All right?
Yep.
So at 20, we have Jaylen Brown at 20. At 19, they have Trey.
Right.
At 18, they have Damian Lillard. 17, Donovan Mitchell. 16, Jimmy Butler. 15, Zion. 14, Siakam.
That's where it gets tricky for me, H. I think that Zion, he might be a little low there. I think that we might be able to put him ahead of Siakam. I love Siakam, and I love what he does for Toronto and what they've been doing. But as of late, I think over the last 7 games, I think Zion is like 30. I think he's like
Fluent would like that.
Tone, no question about it. Tone is a homer. He talk about us being homers. He is absolutely a homer. No doubt about that.
All the way.
I think Zion in the last like 7 to 8, I think he's like 31-7. My issue with Zion is that he doesn't rebound as much as I'd like for him to.
But that'll come, I think. He's still, don't you think?
Okay, let's go Siakam.
Okay,
Siakam
let me keep
14.
Going. Okay, Siakam at 14. Paul George at 13. Shea at 12.
Shea at 12. Wow.
Yes.
When you read off the other ones.
Yeah. Here we go. Okay. And then 11 is Book. 10 is Ja. 9 is LeBron.
Yep.
8 is AD. 7 Embiid. Crazy. 6 Tatum. 5 KD. 4 Luka. 3 Jokic. 2 Steph. And 1 is Giannis. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I will tell you this. The AD Embiid thing, I know y'all are big on Embiid, and I'm big on Embiid too. Embiid is not the rebounder that I'd like for him to be. Embiid should, at minimum, be a double-figure rebound guy on the regular. So Anthony Davis over the last, I think over the last 8 games, Anthony Davis is, I think Embiid is 33-9 over the last 8 games, and Philadelphia has won. Them and Brooklyn are right behind each other. Anthony Davis is playing like a first-team All-NBA performer. He's 33 and 12 over the last 8 games, and I think it's 2 blocks. Not only is it 2 blocks, he's been the anchor on that Laker defense. The problem with the Lakers is that they're not playing to their strength more. Not only are they not playing to their strength more, defensively, Anthony Davis is the only guy on that crew. They're not getting much from anybody else. He's basically the anchor on that crew. Embiid, on the other hand, Embiid falters down the stretch just like Anthony Davis does, because we saw Anthony Davis go to the stripe and choke. Not once, we saw him choke twice, right?
Yeah.
So those two things go hand in hand. But I think that the guy that's playing better, if I have to go with the guy that's playing better, I think Anthony Davis is in front of Embiid. Jaylen Brown at 20, I don't love that, Tone.
You think that's too low, right?
I think that's way too low. I think Jaylen Brown is playing like a top 15 player right now. I think you can make the argument that Jaylen Brown is playing like a top 15 player. I think he's in that same area where Siakam, Zion, and him, but between him and Zion, I think those two guys are. I mean, Jaylen Brown, he leads the Celtics in fourth quarter points. Not only does he lead them in fourth quarter points, they're at the top of the Eastern Conference. Don't get me wrong. I think Jason Tatum is the best player on that team and playing the best. And they're about to get Robert Williams back, which is going to make them even better defensively. But when I think about the guy on that unit and to have a second guy that's averaging almost 27 a game, it's difficult to say that this guy is a top 20 player as opposed to arguably a top 10 player.
All right. 1, I'll go through in order. 1, I would bump up Tatum and Embiid from 6'7" to 5'6".
Yep.
I moved Durant to 7. The rest of the list I'm fine with. All of these guys are so close.
Yep. Are we splitting hairs, Tone, with these guys?
We are splitting hairs. So that's what I'm saying for me. And some people are gonna say I'm right, other half are gonna say I'm crazy.
Yep.
So I would bump Tatum and Embiid, Durant down. AD at 8, okay. LeBron's so tough to judge because from a talent perspective, you're still saying, yeah, he's there. So I'm not going to argue too much with that. I would actually, to your point, I would actually slide Jaylen Brown in at 13 for PG.
Yeah.
I would flip-flop Zion and Siakam. I think Siakam is top 15, but I think Zion's going to be top 5 by the time the season is done. But I don't want to move him up too quick. I want him to work his way up. And I want to, like I've said this before, I want to see him healthy consistently.
Yep.
But I would still flip him and Siakam. I don't trust Siakam down the stretch. Like you're saying how Embiid doesn't hit free throws.
Right.
Siakam does that exact same spin move for 3.5 quarters and he gets the bucket. And then for whatever reason in the last 2 minutes, he always misses. Shout out, by the way, you mentioned the G League and we mentioned the Raptors. Shout out to the Raptors 905 last night for welcoming my team, the GTA Mavericks, to the game. Let us on the court. We got to play a little scrimmage on the 905 court.
Nice.
We had a bunch of love. We had a blast. Videos are up on TikTok. Some of them. My son, coast to coast. Yeah, baby. So I would switch that Siakam and then Jimmy, Donovan, Dame. Yeah, and then I would just knock PG down. But other than that, I think that's minor stuff. And you can shift all those guys around, I think.
Is there any name that surprised you that wasn't on the list? Or, I mean, because, for example, like Dame, he's missed a bunch of time. Obviously, he's shown who he is. I'm okay with him being on there. In fact, I think okay. He should be. Like that when
Trey. I see, you know, LeBron, PG, Dame, they've all had time that they've been hurt.
Right.
Embiid's hurt right now. So I'm taking it as this list was created based on, hey, talent, skill, and what we know that they'll do when they're healthy. Right. So yeah, I'm not, I guess I'm surprised if that's the criteria. We don't care if they're healthy. I'm maybe surprised Kawhi's not there because people love him.
I was thinking,
I'm of the mindset that, dude, play some games.
Yeah.
All right, play some games. Like right now, if you look at him, like if his name wasn't Kawhi Leonard, and I just showed you a guy that played the same amount of games as he did, that's averaging like 13 and 5.
Right.
You'd be like, all right,
that's a rotation guy. That's a rotation guy. Right.
So I got to see what he's done.
Right.
But because it's Kawhi, we know how good he can be. People want to bump him up. I say let's pump the brakes.
Dame looks like, and I thought this before the season started, I thought that Dame was going to play himself back into the top 10, and then he ended up getting injured. But when he's healthy, he's still razor sharp. The athleticism is still there. He's still able to get to the spots that he's normally able to get to. He still has Dame time going on where he's one of the better players in the game in the clutch, right? So with all of that being said, he still looks super sharp. It's just a matter of, is he going to be able to hold up? And the reason why I say that, Tone, is because you had the injury last season, right? So with the injury last season, which had him out half the season, and then the calf injury that had him out almost a month this year, which had me thinking that his Dame, like, he's only 32, and he's still I think he's still in the middle of his prime. But is he starting to break down? Am I seeing the beginning of the end of Dame? But when I watch him, he still looks super sharp. But when he gets injured, it's like he's hurt for weeks. He's not out a couple of games. He's out for weeks, which makes me think that is he starting to break down? Is he not the guy that he used to be? Well, obviously he's still got the goods. The question is can he hold up?
I would say this. One, to the guys in chat, we are going to get more super chats in. We're spreading them out. There's still more to do. Yes, we will get to them. I just realized Donovan at 17. Donovan Mitchell at 17
crazy.
Really low. Like, he should be higher.
What's he averaging? Like 20.
But again, who do I?
If you look at the 15 guys, right? I don't love Shea. I don't love Shea at 12 over Donovan Mitchell.
That's a little hyped up.
I'm not liking that at all. No, I'm not liking that at all.
When you look at team record too, which is a part of it, it's again, it weighs lower than all the other things, but that is part of it. So to have a guy in Shea that has a losing record that high over a guy,
I don't like that.
Well, then Steph deserves to be at like 15. If that's the case,
if that is the case,
comes into it,
But here's the thing, though.
Same with the Lakers.
It comes into it a little bit when you're starting to when you're saying, hey, these two are close, and to say, okay, these two are really, really close statistically, skill wise, talent wise, they're close. One has a winning record, one has a losing record. So okay, it creates a little separation, but you can't have one at 10 and one at 20.
Like, no, and Shea's still early in his career too, so it's like Steph, we know who he is versus Shea. Like he's
and that's the other thing. A lot of this is, it's not who's playing the best right now, because otherwise a lot of this would be very different. A lot of this is, we know who Giannis is, not that he's playing poorly, but we know who Steph is, we know who KD is, right? That's why and I'm again not saying that any of these guys aren't playing great, but there's guys that maybe are having a better 2 weeks, a better month than some others.
That's why
we're weighing into like who they are too,
which matters.
And isn't it crazy how how close all of the teams are right now? Like, not as much out east, but like especially in the West,
5.5 games from 1st to 10.
It's so close. So anything could happen. Like,
you could go from 1st to 10 in a week. Let you have a bad week. So prime example would be the Warriors, right? Yeah. The Warriors with Steph Curry. The Warriors could go for, I think they're in 10th place right now.
10,
they're in 10th place right now. This could go from 10th to 14.
Yeah, real quick.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Without them even playing.
And what they were thinking was, hey, if we go on a 5-game winning streak, we could be 4th.
Right. It could go the other way too.
So
So
it could go the other way.
But that's why I said that, if you guys remember the Black Friday, that's why I said this right now is I'm sorry, it's my favorite time in basketball. Just look at this. We're arguing over a top 20 list where guys could move anywhere from 20 to 2.
Yeah.
And there's teams that are separated by nothing, by a week's worth of games. Like, this is good for basketball.
I just think that, Tone, again, we're talking about how good Steph Curry is, but I think Steph Curry at the top of the list, I think he's a top 2, top 3 player overall. But I think a lot of this is on legacy right now, because if you look at his crew, they super whack. But I'm having a difficult time with a guy in Donovan Mitchell, whose team is a top 3 seed in the East. It reminds me of when he was in Utah. They was at the top of the Western Conference, and he didn't make the All-NBA team.
He gets no love. Yeah, you're right.
He will. If not this season, it's coming. People will know their names.
Is there anyone on this list that should be off?
Oh, how about Trey? Are you guys good with Trey that low?
What is Trey? I think Trey is at like 17,
19.
Yeah,
now,
he's real low.
He's at 19 now. I still think that Trey is a top. I had him in the top 10 before the season started, right? I don't think he's not a top 20 player. I can't name 20 players better than him. Now, there might be 20 guys that might be playing better at some point during the season, but I can't name 20 guys better than Trey Young. So I'm not going to go as far as to go, Trey is out of the top 20. No, I'm not one of those people who, you have a 5-game or 7-game lull where you're shooting terribly. Now all of a sudden you're not a great player anymore. Easy. We're talking about a dude that's like 28-9. Yeah. He could take better shots, right? He could definitely take better shots. I think that's where his inefficiency comes in, and I think that they can retool that Atlanta team. However, I still think that Trey is a top 15 player.
Yeah, I think he gets enough.
Should Jimmy Buckets be top 20?
Yes.
I think so.
My issue with go ahead. I'm sorry, H.
I'm not saying no. I'm just asking.
I was gonna say yes, just because of who he is, but I mean, his team obviously isn't the most equipped this season.
That's because he ain't playing. H. Get in the lineup, Buckets. What's the problem? He sat out last night against Oklahoma City for rest management. Hey, Tone, if I gotta see one more rest management, I am going to lose it. I'm so sick of this. What is the problem?
Get over it. Get over it, old head.
No, Tone, I'm not getting over it.
Get over it, old head. That's part of basketball now.
No, it's not.
Tone. I'm over it, though. It's getting worse by day.
The reason why I'm so sick of it, Tone, is because they want us to talk about these guys like the all-time greats when these dudes play 55, 60 games and they play half the season. Meanwhile, you're talking about a dude in Jabbar who played 82 games at 38 years old. And we can't get Jimmy Butler to play 60 games when he's healthy.
Who played the most games in one regular season?
Who played the most games in one regular season? It's only 82 games.
Who played the most?
Of who?
Wait, like you mean like out of their entire career?
No, in one season. Who played the most regular season games?
Last season?
No, who played the most regular season games in one regular season?
Well, there's always guys that play the whole season. Like last season, it was like Mikal Bridges, Looney.
Who played the most games?
Nabbling. Been looking at my TikTok channel. He knows, or she knows. I don't know what Nabbling is.
Jalen Rose.
Nope. No. That is a popular mistake. 83 games for Jalen Rose.
Who played the most games? Who played the most regular season games?
Nabbling is right. It was 88 games. It was Walt Bellamy got traded in the middle of the season and ended up playing 88 regular season games. Yes,
really?
I did not know that.
That's
84, 85. Yeah,
I did not know that. I did not.
Shout out to Fluent Jr. for bringing that to my attention and letting me know.
Is your son in this chat?
How is that possible? Well, that's possible because you get traded to a team that hasn't played as many games as the crew you were just on. I got it.
Or if you,
okay.
Wow.
Walt Bellamy played, I want to say 35 games for the first team, then got traded halfway through.
Right.
They had not played as many, and
right.
88.
I can get with that. All right. Okay. Sure.
What noise? Hey, hit Fluent noise. What noise? Tell me what noise.
Now I'm more fluent.
Oh no, that's not for.
Now you're more fluent.
I'm about ready for that.
For real.
All right, we're gonna do a couple more super chats and then get to topic number 2. All right.
Yeah. Because
we got a lot, so I do want to get to them. Not so like those other shows that don't get to them. Here we go. Rapid fire. Here we go. Z-Dub, would you rather Shaq's peak or Tim Duncan's longevity?
Timmy D's longevity.
Basically, he's saying, would you rather have Shaq's peak career or Tim Duncan's longevity? I guess.
What's going to help you win more? Probably.
Shaq's peak is maybe top 5, but I mean, Tim Duncan, he was first team All NBA in year 18.
Could you imagine Tim Duncan's longevity with all those all defensive teams, the most all defensive teams, and he should probably have the Defensive Player of the Year award. Never, even though he never won one. Travesty, by the way. With my personality, man, that would be fun. Yes, I'm taking Tim.
With your personality.
Yeah, Tim Duncan was kind of.
Shaq's peak. I don't know if I can pass on Shaq's peak.
Taking Shaq's peak. All right,
Hailey, I don't know if I can pass on it.
I think I'd go with Duncan just because. One, he's an easier guy to work with and probably a good teammate to have. And yeah, why not? I'm not going to argue with longevity.
It's you. What would you do for your career? Which would you rather have?
Shaq's peak. Let's go.
All right, Shaq's peak. All right, there you go. Favorite, Chris? Favorite NFL rivalry?
Oh, that's easy for me. 49ers and the Cowboys. That's easy for me. No doubt. 49ers.
Mine's 49ers Seahawks.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's not really like a super. Yeah.
I already know what Tones is. This is easy.
Bears,
Packers, baby.
Yeah.
Even though they've owned us for the past 20 years, I still say this every Packer week. Every Packer week.
So where were you at in January of 2010 when your boys had to go when Green Bay came to Soldier Field to go to the bowl game?
Where was I? January 2010. I was living in California. I was in San Francisco actually. Watching the game.
I think it was January 2011. I don't think it was January.
January 2011. I still would have been in San Francisco, crying in a bar somewhere.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much. That's Every time the Bears play a meaningful game, I'm somewhere crying.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got next?
Not tears of joy, by the way. Guys.
Not tears of joy, unfortunately. Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. In 2006, I was living in Arizona, and there was two games that I remember very vividly. One, the NFC Championship game, the Bears getting to the Super Bowl, although they lost to the Colts. But earlier that season, I was at the Arizona game where Dennis Green had the famous, "We had them and we let them off the hook."
Because they crown their ass.
Yeah, that one. They kicked the ball. They kicked the ball to Devin Hester. What are you, crazy? All right, David Estilio. Fellas, can you debunk the MJ didn't play against Zone D in the 90s myth? These kids today are using that to disqualify MJ. Knicks Pistons used Zone D.
Well, not only did they use Zone D, he came into the league playing against zone defense when he was in college. So when the reason why he was able to score the way he was able to score, is because the game was so wide open, right? Because you got one-on-one guys and you got one guy on the wing, but it was also a big man's league. And because it was a big man's league, it was harder to score in the paint being a guard because you get beat up a lot. So the logic that he wasn't able to play against zone, well, the counter to that is the fact that it was a big man's league. So I had to go in there against a lot of bigger guys, not only a lot of bigger guys who were putting hands on him. So, I mean, the logic of him playing against zone, I don't think it's that difficult to play against zone. And the reason why is because all you got to do is pick your spots. And if you pick
as a shooter, I love playing against zone.
Right. All you got to do is pick spots. It's not it's a situation where it's difficult to play against zone. It's not.
So, David, I've been asked this question a lot, so I'll go through the points with you as quickly as I can because we got a bunch of more super chats to get through. But here's the thing. One, there was zone defenses allowed to a certain extent. Above the free throw line, you could play zone. It was down below where you couldn't. The center did not have a 3-second rule. So as you drove past your man, because that was the big thing, is you couldn't play zone. All he had to do was beat one person. No, you were being met by a true 7-foot center who was going to knock you on your butt. So it wasn't that hard. Two, your defender was able to put a hand on your hip and guide you to one direction, which was typically your weak hand. So now you have a guy with their hand on your hip guiding you in the direction you want to go, where there's a secondary person hitting you with a hard double team. And if you happen to slip through that, which Jordan did quite often, you'd be met by a 7-footer shot blocker. So one, it was not easy. Two, again, zone defense was actually allowed to a certain extent. Three, the illegal defense is the one I hear a lot. Go check the stats. It was called 2 to 3 times per game. Why? Because they weren't going to call it all the time. They just let it happen.
Right.
3, zone is a great way to rest on defense because they want you to have your strength for offense. And to Chill's point, I love zone defenses. There's always holes in zones. Again, go look it up, watch some film. You can pick a spot, get a wide open jumper all day. You can kill a zone.
Right.
4, and this is the one that everyone wants to ignore. In today's NBA, since zone has been allowed, 4 to 5% of the time teams play zone. So to think it's this huge thing, it's not. And when teams play zone, the opposing team averages more points per possession versus zone than versus man-to-man defense. So anyone that says this to you, David, just really doesn't know basketball, and they're trying to spit a false narrative because they don't know basketball.
Right.
And now
you're more
there we go. All right, next one. Where are we here? We're jumping back. Football, basketball. Is Dan Marino a top 5 QB? Slightly biased. I'm a Dolphins fan.
Montana, Brady, Marino, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre. I don't know if Brett Favre is better than Drew Brees. I just don't. I don't love that. Dan Marino is the best pure passer Not pure passer. I'm sorry. Peyton Manning is the best pure passer that I've ever seen. But when I think about Dan Marino being a top 5 quarterback all time, I think Drew Brees might have one-upped him. I think he might have.
I struggle with this question a lot because seeing Dan Marino play, and people ask me, they're like, have you ever seen anyone throw a prettier football than Dan Marino? My answer typically is no. Seeing his stats, and people want to say his stats were really good, but you got to compare it to the era he played in. Like, he was throwing 4,000 or 5,000 yards back when people were throwing 3,000 yards.
And like, 3,000 yards, Tone was slinging it, by the way.
Right. That was the best of the best. He was throwing 4. And so he's so good. Like, if he was in today's NFL, I'm telling you, 6,000 yards would not be crazy. I'm telling you. Here's the problem.
5,500 yards, Dan Marino.
I'm telling you. The problem is, I fight myself because sometimes I have him 5, sometimes I have him 8. Yeah. And people are like, why? And I'm like, because I know how good he was and the era he played in and whatever. But I do hold winning, right?
Winning matters.
You do have to win. He had a couple games that he didn't play great. Now, I also know the games that he didn't play great was against a phenomenal Patriots defense with injuries on his offensive line, with injuries to his skilled players. So I know all the excuses for it, but he made 1 Super Bowl and he lost it. And how do I put him over guys that went to 1, 2, 3 Super Bowls and won them, that had similar statistics, that had similar things? So my bias to Dan Marino, because I really like Dan Marino, sometimes I have him 5, but sometimes he's like 7 or 8, like I said. So on a consistent basis, he probably averages outside of my top 5. Now, if someone's really hating on him, I'll put him 5 just to piss them off. But other than that, he probably averages out of my top 5. But if we're not talking about winning, right, 100%.
Before I saw Peyton Manning, he was the best passer that I had ever seen. Just a guy who can deliver the football. 3-step drop, there he is, hit him. 5-step drop, there he is. He's the best that I had ever seen before I saw Peyton Manning. No question about that. But when you talk about a guy winning, I mean, he probably had the best duo at one point of wide receivers in the game with Mark Super Duper, and Mark Super Duper and Mark Clayton. So, and like you said, he did get to the bowl game. Not only was that the first time he had gotten to the bowl game, that was the only time he had gotten to the bowl game. He never got back after that second year. That was it, right? Especially with the weapons that he had. So, I mean, Dan Marino, would it be nuts for me to tell you guys? I know we're playing in a different era, but Dan Marino for his career, he averaged about 59% for his career as a thrower. I mean, that's not very good today, but back then,
yeah.
Back then it was really good. So
yeah, you got to remember there's different rules. Like, you could hit a wide receiver and you could kill a quarterback.
Yeah.
Now,
right,
like, it'd be roughing the passer every play.
Right.
So, but yes, he probably averages outside of my top 5, unfortunately, because I really want him to be there. All right, back to basketball.
Yep.
Andrew G. This one's for Hailey. Celtics versus Grizzlies, NBA Finals. Great competition.
We've seen it. Grizzlies. Grizzlies versus Celtics. No, I'm good. I think the Grizzlies. I like the Grizzlies. I'm going to give them their flowers. It's not their time yet. There are too many better teams in the league. I think Ja's special. We've seen Desmond Bane just absolutely popping off. He's getting better and better. Yeah, they have a good unit, but it doesn't feel as full as it did last season. And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is coming off. He's coming off that injury now. So I'm not saying they're not a good team. I just think that's not really a matchup that I'm ready to see. Maybe in the future, maybe in a couple of years, but I really want to see, I'm okay seeing the Celtics in the finals again, but I really want to see the Bucks. I'd prefer to see like the Bucks and maybe, maybe like
the Warriors.
I don't know.
Say it, H.
Yeah.
Say it. Say it,
I want to see Bucks Dubs is what I had at this point. It sounds crazy. But the West, again, it's up for grabs. Like, maybe the Suns, maybe the Nuggets. I'm really liking the Mavs. People don't see a lot of hope for them yet. I think they're going to figure something out. I think the Mavs are going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. And then, of course, we've seen what the Pels can do. So, yeah, we'll see. Definitely ain't on the Mavs train. I jumped off that train at Blowout City. I'm off. I'm definitely off that train. No doubt about it. The Grizz, on the other hand, the Western Conference is wide open. And not only is the Western Conference wide open, Jaren Jackson has been playing great, Tone. He's their Robert Williams. That's who he is for them.
except he can actually score and crack the long ball, right? I watched him a couple nights ago. His rim protection amount, I thought he was going to have like 12 to 15 blocks that night. He only had 8, but I thought the way he was blocking shots, he's the guy that's the difference on that unit. I already know who Ja is. And
yeah.
Do you remember who I picked last week?
You did have the Grizz, Tone.
I picked Celtics and Grizz.
Yeah, you did.
That's the matchup.
You did.
Yeah. So I had your G. I'm with you.
Sounds so boring.
The only matchup. No, that's not a boring matchup because that's not a boring matchup for a Lakers fan to pick the Celtics.
Look, this is exactly how it would go.
The only better matchup would be Lakers.
The Celtics will blow them out. The Celtics are going to win in 5 or 6.
The NBA would absolutely love the Grizz in the NBA Finals because now what that does is that pushes Ja to the forefront.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
and not only does it push Ja to the forefront, it's what we're going to get into. It's a segue to what we're going to get into in a minute. So,
all right. So, well, let's just knock out a couple more of these first because these ones are highest peak. Megatron, Randy Moss, T.O. Yeah, we got a lot of football today.
If I'm not mistaken, definitely, but Terrell Owens. I mean, he for the decade he had the most 1,000-yard seasons for the decade. I think he had 7,000-yard seasons in that decade. So, let's see.
Be careful now. Be careful. The more football you talk, the more chat is telling us you need to join us on Gridiron some Wednesday.
T.O. Randy Moss was the most talented. T.O. was the hardest working. Megatron was the most dominant.
So peak, if I'm talking peak, like the peak. So the best season was Megatron because he had a triple crown. But I would say
he was awesome, man.
I would say T.O.'s peak, I think, was longer than everybody else's. But I think Randy Moss is when I rank them, it's Randy, Megatron, T.O. So for their careers. So there you go. It's all three, I guess, technically has something different.
I actually put Megatron. I actually put T.O. ahead of Megatron, but that's just me.
Yeah,
I do. I got T.O. ahead of Megatron.
But
it's not because he's a 49er.
I was going to say, are you biased?
No, not just because he's
I would say for me, I will say mine might be biased. I saw Megatron twice a year, every year as a Lion, and I saw what he could do to people. And I'll tell you now, just like Tom Brady admits that Tuck rule was a fumble, I can tell you now that Megatron catch in the end zone against the Bears, it was a touchdown.
That was a touchdown. They changed the rules. That was absolutely a touchdown. No doubt about it. They changed the rules.
I can admit it now. That was
the Megatron ruled.
Oh, and for the record, so was Des Bryant. But anyways, that's a whole other conversation.
Don't get me started on that.
All right. Sports PSP. Would y'all consider Zion an MVP candidate?
Not yet, but we're getting close. Not yet, but we're getting close. And the reason why we're getting close is because this team in New Orleans, they're still at the top of the Western Conference. If they can stay at the top of the Western Conference, and if the MVP is what I've always known it to be, and what Zion is doing, we have to start talking about him in the league MVP conversation. We have to.
Yeah, but we have to see if his body holds up before.
That's the $1 million question, H. Yeah. That's it right there.
Yeah, I think that could definitely be a huge something that could really hurt them. So.
I feel like, do you ever watch that show Around the Horn?
Yes.
All right, how Tony Reali, I think at the end, I think of that show, or it might be, no, pardon the interruption. Tony Reali used to be at the end of the show, and he would correct them on their mistakes. That's our chat. Yes, you are correct. I meant 2,000-yard season. Megatron. He did not have the Triple Crown. The only Triple Crown winners are Jerry Rice, Sterling Sharp, Steve Smith, and Cooper Kupp. So for me,
now you're more fluent.
Now I'm more fluent.
Real quick off that, somebody in the chat says Zion was. Oh wait, Luka is in the MVP combo and Ja isn't. It's criminal. Tell me what you guys think about that, real quick.
Well, I'll start with Zion. If he plays consistently the way that he's playing, he will be in the conversation by the end of the season. Luka in the MVP convo and Ja ain't. It's criminal. The MVP what's the criteria? That will for always be the problem.
No, it's not the problem, Tone.
No,
it's not the problem, Tone. No, it's not the problem because there is the criteria. Most valuable player to his team's success.
And you think because Ja has a better team? That's
the difference. Luka is not an MVP candidate. What is Dallas? 9th place? You are not your contribution to your unit is not more valuable than a dude who's in 3rd place or a dude who's in 2nd place. Your contribution is not. Your team is whack. And no matter what you do, if you can't get your team to that level, and this dude could get his team higher. And I'm not listening to the
it is criminal. Josh should be in it and Luka not.
Yes.
Oh, you agree? Okay.
I think
and
Dallas
then
is in ninth place.
His team's first.
Like I said, Tone, if Zion, if he could keep doing what he's doing, I think that we could have this conversation. Tone, you know how I feel about the league MVP. Most valuable to your team's success. You have to win in order for you to be the league MVP. Don't let for 1 second the what Joker did last year or what Russ did. Those things are exceptions. Tone, can you please tell me one more time what's the difference between the exception and the rule?
The rule happens more often than the exception is. A damn exception that happens once in a while.
I'm sorry. Joker did it this decade. Last decade, Russell Westbrook did it. One guy. That's it. One guy. So the majority of the guys that are league MVPs are on teams who are winning. I don't care that you 37 or 34 a game. The reason why James Harden won the league MVP because his team won 65 games. They were at the top of the Western Conference. Winning matters when you win the league MVP.
And to Matthew D'Souza, when you're averaging 33.99, you're in the MVP race. Y'all bugging? Incorrect.
No.
According to what the NBA has done for the last 75 or whatever, 60 years, they've been giving out the Michael Jordan Award. All right, next one. Are there 5 shooting guards better than Jaylen Brown?
Oh, Book,
Mitchell,
and Jaylen's better than Ant.
Steph?
Steph is no. We're not doing this. We're not going down this road. Ant is better. I don't know what Ant's averaging.
So probably no. So he's probably a top 5.
No, I think he's definitely top 5.
When we get at
I don't get this disrespect that
it's so hard.
Jaylen Brown continues to get. I hate it.
All you guys keep telling me it's positionless basketball, and now you're asking me who's better at each position. I'm very confused, guys. Make up your mind. Is it positionless or are there positions?
It is positions.
All right. I'm not saying you. Jalen Rose said that's for dumb people. They created
that's Jalen Rose
positions for dumb people.
Really gonna, yeah.
The only advice I'm taking from Jalen Rose is where to get my hair cut. That's about it.
God.
He stayed with a fresh cut, doesn't he?
Yeah. He has the best hair ever on television I've ever seen.
He stayed with something fresh.
Yeah.
And by the way, you people in the chat, and I don't really pay attention to the chat. I'll let Tone take care of that. I'll let Hailey take care of that. Let's get to the bottom of one thing. Paul George is not a shooting guard. Okay? Paul George is a small forward. Paul George came in the league. Get out of here.
I literally checked like yesterday. They have him listed.
It doesn't matter what you're listed at.
I know, but why do they do that?
Just so you know,
why do they do that? Here's why they do that. They do that because someone put on a piece of paper who's lazy. They're a shooting guard. They're
coming out of high school or college. That's what he was. And now...
just so you know, H. Last year they had DeMar DeRozan listed at the 4.
At the power forward.
Yeah, I know.
They had him listed at the 4. Give me a break. Give me a break. Yeah. SGA is not a shooting guard. He plays the 1.
He plays the.
He's listed on Google. He's point guard or shooting guard, but
he plays the 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. So no. So yeah. Hey, let's put Jaylen Brown in the top 5. Yep. What do we got? That's okay. We got that one. What do we got? Leafy. Oh, sorry, Leaf Diggy. I'm YouTube famous. My short got 1.5K likes on Players Choice channel. Shout out to Dub. No. Ron. Yes. JD. Absolutely. Bobby. Yeah, I like Bobby. And I was on Gridiron Monday. Hope to be back soon. Oh, I don't do Gridiron Mondays. That's too much for me. Congratulations. 1.5K likes. Good. Yeah, that's fire. Good for you. We've got some pounds from Adrian Sheck. What do you guys think about the 2021 draft QB redraft? That's a horrible accent. I'm sorry, Adrian. My apologies.
That was garbage. So let's put it was garbage.
That's why I didn't get that role. That's why I didn't get that role where I was supposed to play someone from across the pond.
Oh yeah, your movie. So. What do we think about the 2021 draft? QB redraft.
The QB draft. So I guess they're saying that's last year's, right? Is that last year's?
What are we in? We're in 2022 right now.
So the redraft would be, I'm dropping the accent, FIFA boy. Yeah, I know that was horrible. That would be what? Are they talking about is it the Trevor Lawrence? Is that the one? The Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, yeah, I think Trevor Lawrence still goes 1, but
Justin Fields goes ahead of Zach Wilson and Trey.
Justin Fields was ranked higher than all those guys too. I don't know why he dropped so much. So I don't know if there was a redraft, Adrian. I don't know if one came out that we didn't see, but yes, I would definitely. I still think Lawrence 1, Fields 2.
They're just talking about like where they would be. For example, like Jay, we were high on Justin. Like that's who when we were watching the draft, we're like, okay, we're getting this guy. Right. And then we got Trey. That was like crazy. So it'd be interesting to see.
So it's as 49ers fans, that's interesting. What were you thinking?
I like Justin Fields. I'm not a huge I didn't watch a ton of college ball, but like I knew a little bit about Justin Fields. I knew nothing about Trey though. So
I'll go. So here's what Lawrence went 1, Wilson went 2, Lance went 3, Fields went 11, Mac Jones went 15. I think that was it for the first round. Yep. Yeah, and that was it for the first round.
Right.
I think Mac Jones still goes 15 to the Patriots because I think there's that tie with Saban and Alabama and Bill Belichick.
Not only that, Tone, does Mac Jones, if he's with the Jets, do they screw him up like they screwed Zach up?
No, I don't think he goes to. I'd say.
Wait, Jay, why do you think they screwed Zach up?
I think they absolutely screwed him up. He was not ready. They threw him in the lineup. Not only did they throw him in the lineup, they threw him in the lineup and they didn't give him anything.
Yeah, but that's what the Bears and the Jets do.
Yeah, that's what they do. But I also think, I don't know Zach personally, but like I feel like somebody else with maybe a little bit more seriousness would have fared a bit better if you put like Justin Fields in that.
Do you think Mac Jones goes to the Jets or Justin Fields at 2?
I think Justin Fields goes. I think Mac Jones goes ahead of Zach, though. I do think that.
So you think so Lawrence goes to the Jags, Fields goes to the Jets. You guys get Mac Jones?
To be honest with you, Tone, I think Fields goes ahead of Lawrence. I think Fields goes ahead of Lawrence.
Oh, yes. I thought he was supposed to. Wasn't he?
I think he goes ahead of Lawrence.
Was the consensus one.
No, he was the number 1.
No, he was supposed to go after or like number 2 though.
But
I would say this. Honestly, if I'm an NFL GM, knowing what I know now, I don't think any of them go in the first round.
Maybe Justin.
Late.
Definitely not Zach.
No, get him out of here.
Not Zach.
No.
Actually, Lawrence. I think Lawrence goes first round. I think Lawrence goes first.
I think Lawrence is the first round.
Yes, I think the other 3, not even first round. Yeah, absolutely.
You could probably get Mac in the second round.
Yeah.
You could probably get Mac in the second round. I don't mind him as a late first round pick if he's sitting behind somebody, just like Zach could have sat behind somebody. He could have stood to sit behind Flacco for a year, maybe even 2 years. He wasn't ready, but he's the number 2 overall pick. So they threw him out there and they screwed him up.
Yeah. I now thinking about it, I think Lawrence and Fields, looking back, go first round, but Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, absolutely not. Yeah. Absolutely. And maybe Mac Jones, but probably not.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got one more. Cool. And then we can get to the next topic.
Cool.
Don't blame players for rest. Blame coaches and GMs.
And blame the game, because that's what the game has come to.
Yeah.
Don't hate the player.
That's what the game has come to. And these players have now been accustomed to that. So because they've been accustomed to that, they don't play. It's not like if you told Jimmy Butler that he had to play, would he play? I think he would play. But a lot of these guys have become accustomed to sitting out for nagging injuries.
Where do you think this started? Did this start with Popovich? Is he the one to blame? Who's to blame for this?
I think it's Greg Popovich. He was the one who started with Tony Parker and Tim Duncan with back-to-backs, which really boiled my blood, Tone. And the reason why is because, like, I'm thinking about I'm an uncle and I got a nephew and we live in Orlando and my nephew, he loves Tony Parker, right? They only come down here once a year. And my nephew I got the tickets 2 months ago. And my nephew, hypothetically speaking, is supercharged about seeing Tony Parker. Only except they come down here on the back-to-back and Tony Parker's going to sit. Nothing's wrong with him. He's just sitting them. And then now this became a theme. Yeah. And it turned into something where now, don't get me wrong, I think that the player's health is the best part of the game, but I also think that you're not going to see nearly as many records being broken. We're not gonna have a conversation about these guys being all-time great players like we did with these other guys because they don't play nearly as much.
Does it hurt their legacy?
I do. I absolutely believe that. I'm having a difficult time with the logic that a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who, when he's healthy, I think he's a top 5 player, but I don't think he's ever played an 82-game season one time.
I'd be curious to hear, Hailey, what you have to say about this because I think that generation, Hailey's generation, is growing up on players being rested and players not playing all the time. And so when they're 20 years from now, the ones that are making these decisions on Hall of Fames and who's the greatest and those conversations, because it's going to be the norm, I actually don't think it's going to play as a negative a role as we see it today, because we look back and we see, the Jordans playing 80 plus games, 90% of the time, all those guys, the Magics, the Birds, if they're healthy, they're playing. Right, we're Isaiah Thomas playing on one leg and a broken hip and a dislocated shoulder, and that's who we saw in other sports. Nolan Ryan pitching complete games, that's just what we grew up on.
Right,
but now we're not seeing that. We're seeing the average player playing 65 games instead of 80 games, and so I'm thinking down the road. Actually, I don't think it hurts them as much because people are going to say, "Yeah, that's just the norm," and I actually, it's funny. Most people blame Pop, and I blame Pop, but I think Pop got it from baseball. Because if you look at baseball, pitchers used to pitch a whole game. And now there's a starter, a long reliever, a middle reliever, a short reliever,
and then a closer.
A closer. Like, that's 6 different pitchers for a 9-inning game.
This dude is done by the 5th inning. He's done.
So I think it's been this weird trend where they don't even want players to play more than one sport. But if you look at it, the players that play multiple sports are typically the ones that are most successful because they're working out different muscles in their body. If anyone's played multiple sports, basketball is one thing, baseball is another, football is another. Like you're using different parts of the body. Mm-hmm. So to answer the question, the question was, don't blame the players. Yeah, you're right. I blame the coaches and GMs because that's part of the issue. I agree, but I also think now we've turned the players into, I'm hurt. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a sore whatever, but it's like I have a hangnail, right?
An unidentified illness, or it's really frustrating. And then what's even more frustrating to me is when, for example, like LeBron's getting a lot older. I know there's going to be months where he's not going to play this season. He's going to sit out. But if somehow they make the playoffs, which seems extremely unlikely at this point, but if that happens, he'll be ready to play. And I guarantee he'll play all the way through the playoffs. Like, I feel like it's frustrating. Like, you don't deserve, like, there should be a quota. If you don't play like this amount of games, unless you're actually injured, then you shouldn't get to move on. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, you just rest all season and then, now it's the playoffs. Like, I'm going to, go all out. I just don't like that.
That's a recipe to success.
That's what works.
That's what works.
Well, what about shortening the season?
It's never going to happen. Too much money.
No, we're not doing that. Definitely not doing that. I've heard 72 games,
Adam Silver says
60 games. There's no way that they're doing that.
What would happen? Just think about it. So let's say you went from, and I agree, 82 games is a lot. But if you went from 82 to 65, who it hurts is us, because they're going to take the 82 games and they're going to say, well, that made X amount of dollars. So divide that now by 65. That's the new ticket price.
Right.
Here's the other problem with that. There's TV deals in place, and the TV revenue is in the billions of dollars. Well, it's because they're giving you 82 games a season that you don't think the TV guys are going to say, whoa, you're only giving us 65, so let's cut that.
Yeah, we're not paying
by 20%.
Right, sure.
Well, do you think the NBA is going to take a 20% hit on TV revenue that's billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars? Hell no. Why do you think they added in the play-in? Add a couple extra games to make more money.
Yeah.
So there's no anyone who thinks they're gonna, even the Players Association, these guys, we're gonna talk about shortening the season. Never happening, guys. Never going to happen. It's as ridiculous as we're gonna make the court bigger because now all the players are bigger, right? They're bigger, they're stronger, they're faster. We need to make the court bigger. No, because what do? You take out the most expensive seats in an arena? Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
No.
Money rules everything around.
That's like working in a restaurant.
Dollar bills, y'all.
That's like working in a restaurant, and some of the most expensive food, we're gonna take that off the menu.
Yeah.
No. And by the way, that food that we're taking off the menu, the most popular food, we're gonna take that off the menu. It's selling, but we're gonna take that off the menu. No, we're not.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
We're not doing.
Well, for example, like Klay Thompson, like I get he's still getting his legs under him, and he's figuring out his rhythm. But like, if he had played, like, why? I don't understand why we played Steph Curry and we're resting Klay constantly. Like, I think it's time to start integrating him more. But like, we're load managing so much these days. Like, I feel like it's going to go on for the rest of the season. Well, it can't now, but I don't know. I feel like a lot of people say the league's soft, and like, I understand, like, we want to protect these guys and all that, but it's your job, like, to show up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
So, people get angry when you use the word soft, but the league is soft. Why is the league soft? Because the world is soft.
It's all drama now. No, it's just what did this person do off court? It's like, who cares? Like, go be on reality TV show and watch basketball.
The world is soft because parents are soft, so kids become soft. Someone has this saying, and I'm going to butcher it, but it's something along the lines of hard times make tough men, tough make easy times make soft men, soft make men make hard times. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a cycle. So it'll come back around. It'll come back around.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, David says let's get real.
Tough times don't last long. Tough people do.
There you go. Let's get real. They still load manage if you play 65 games.
Yeah.
And you know what,
true.
David? You might be right.
That's true.
You might be right. I know we have another topic, but as these super chats come in, I'm just flipping them on. If LeBron and Jordan had their same career success, but they swapped eras, would LeBron have been named after the MVP? Interesting. So if LeBron went to 10 finals, 8 in a row, won 4 of them, and then this new kid on the block, Michael Jordan, came in and won the last 6 and was currently still playing, let's say this was his Washington years, would they have named it the LeBron James Award for MVP?
No.
Or would they have named it what you want it to be, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award?
It's not that I want it to be that. I'm just looking at the list and I'm thinking to myself, why is this dude's name not on there? That's all I'm saying. The Social Injustice Award, I can appreciate that, just like Walter Payton as the Man of the Year. All right, I definitely can get with that. But with that being said,
can I jump in? Sorry. When you said that about Kareem, that's immediately what popped into my head. They should make the Kareem, because he was so into social justice. I feel like they should do a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Man of the Year Award.
Well,
because
that's
football,
true.
That's very prestigious to the guys that win the Walter Payton Award.
But the problem that I'm having with that is a contradiction, because the award that they naming after him, they basically crucified him for it. This is how the media treated him back then. So when I think about Jabbar, the stuff that he did on the court, now don't get me wrong, I think that the stuff that he did off the court, I think that's even more impactful. But Jabbar as a basketball player, right? Jabbar as a basketball player, I think his game is so disrespected overall that I don't want the MVP trophy. Switch it around, Tone. If I think about Bill Russell, Bill Russell was the social injustice champion. I got no problem with Bill Russell. Jay got the most finals MVPs. So I ain't got no problem with Jay being the finals MVP. Jabbar, with Jabbar having 6 league MVPs. I got no problem with Jabbar being that. So I don't have a problem with it getting switched around. It's not that I want this guy's name off of it.
I'm with you on that.
I have no problem with that. But I think it's an injustice to Jabbar's game to only recognize him for what he did off the floor. That's my issue.
No, I actually like that idea of Jordan being the finals MVP, Kareem being the regular season MVP award. I also have a problem, and I know we're going to talk about this on the panel on Wednesday. I love Olajuwon, don't get me wrong, but like you got guys like Ben Wallace and Dennis Rodman who are known for their defensive play, and I'm missing somebody else who's won more Defensive Player of the Year awards. I think Wallace and someone else have 3 each. I'm drawing a blank on
Dwight Howard.
Was it Dwight Howard? No, is it Dwight Howard? Okay, so then Ben Wallace, because I don't like Dwight Howard. And then or a guy like I said, Tim Duncan, who never had a Defensive Player of the Year award, but has the most all defensive team, first and second team selections in history that may never get caught. Like he's 15 and the next one's like 11 or 9 or something crazy like that. Like he's got a big lead. So I get it. He didn't win Depoy. Bill Russell, they didn't have the award back then. He probably would have won it a bunch of times.
Chamberlain too.
I just Mutombo. Oh, it wasn't Dwight Howard. It was Mutombo. That's who it was. It was Mutombo and Wallace who have the most Depoys.
Well, if that's true, and I mean we can have a quick discussion about this, Tone. If we're talking about accolades, right? So I think about Jabbar in the 70s winning 5 league MVPs, because you talk about Ben Wallace being the defensive player of the year. So if I think about Jabbar being the league MVP, I don't think that there was a question during that time. He was the best player in the league. He was better than Doc. He was better than Elvin Hayes. He was better than Dave Cowens. He was better than Bob McAdoo. He was better than Artis Gilmore. He was the best player. With that being said, when I think about Ben Wallace during that time, was he the best defensive player in the game? I mean, was he better than Tim Duncan?
Who now?
Ben Wallace. Was he better than Tim Duncan? Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we're using the accolade argument. So was he better? Was he a better
accolade? So the person who won it the most makes sense.
Well, that's the thing, though, Tone. Because
if that's the criteria,
right?
Because you started the criteria by saying Jordan has the most Finals MVPs, so it should be him. Kareem has the most regular season MVPs, so it should be him.
Right. So
you set that precedent of the person who's won that accolade the most should get it.
But
so that's why I brought that up.
Right. And if that's true, then if we're going to use the accolade argument, like I said about Jabbar winning 5 league MVPs, it was because he was the best player, right? He was the best player in the 70s. So when I think about Ben Wallace, I'm not sure he was the best defensive player in the game. I can make an argument for Tim Duncan. I can make an argument for Kevin Garnett during that time being the best defensive player in the game during that time. When Olajuwon was playing, was Olajuwon the best defensive player in the game? I mean, I think he was a better defensive player than David Robinson. I think he was a better defensive player than Dennis Rodman. And these are the guys that he was going up against in terms of defensive player of the year, winning it in back-to-back seasons. Now, Ben Wallace, was he a better defensive player than Dwight Howard? I think there's more of a question there in that aspect than there is if you're bringing up the accolades argument.
I'm probably picking Ben Wallace over Dwight Howard, but again, I'm not a Ben Wallace. I'm not a Dwight Howard fan, but
right.
All right. So the answer is no to this question.
No, it's not. No, they're not naming the MVP trophy after James.
Okay. Even if he played in the 80s and 90s.
No, they're not.
All right. If the NBA based the players' salaries on games played, would that help with load management? For example, if a player plays 80% of their games outside of injury, they only get 80% of their salary.
Tone, you being a businessman, isn't this how the world works? You get paid when you show up to work.
Incorrect. Incorrect. You don't get paid when you show up to work. You get paid. It depends how you get paid.
Well, if you're salary,
if you get paid hourly,
right.
Yes, you get paid when you show up to work. But if you're on a salary, you get a salary. And every 2 weeks or every month, however often they pay you, 15th and the 30th, whatever, you get your salary.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you miss a bunch of games, you're going to be out of work unless you get your work done. There are companies now that have unlimited vacations. And they basically say, here's what you need to do on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. And as long as you get that done, I don't care when and how you get it done.
Right.
So I actually like that idea of, I don't even care. Not that I don't care, because my problem is if you don't pay someone when they get hurt, well, then every game they miss, it'll be, well, I have a bad back. I have a sore knee.
Right.
Right. So it will be an injury. They'll find ways around that. Now, that being said, if you're injured, you get 50% of your pay. And for every game you play, you get full of whatever your yearly rate is divided by 82. I like the idea. Here's the problem. Does that mean someone who's making 100,000? What's the league minimum? 575? Those lower,
I think it's 375.
Okay, those lower end players, are they going to be like, I'm hurt, but I got to play because I
need my money.
I need my money.
Right.
That's the issue. The guy. So man, could you imagine telling someone who gets paid, I don't know, $1 million? Well, how much? I don't know how much. $500,000 a game. Sorry, right? That's Russell Westbrook. I think it's $500K a game.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm taking $500,000 away from you because you're legitimately hurt.
Well, I feel like there would have to be some type of test that they have to run. Like, okay, like you're injured, And you get like sick days, just like everybody else. You get 2 weeks of sick days, but it would, I don't know. If it would work.
You see once you start talking it out, how ridiculous it kind of becomes. It
gets really complicated.
Yeah, it gets really, and so that's why, although drink more water, which I wish I had some. I'm actually really thirsty. I get what you're saying. Like I get it, but again, I don't think this is the player thing. I think we've created this kind of scenario where they play and the coaches sit listen, we've had players who say I want to play and the coach is like, no, you're sitting tonight. We've had that happen. So it's not just on the players. So to previous super chat, it's not just the players. Yeah. Do we have another topic, or I still got 2 more super chats, but we have another?
Let's just roll with the super chats because it's already pretty late and we can save those for. I mean, they were just ideas. So yeah, let's do the super chats.
And if I'll put it out there. Do we want to 30 seconds of? Do we want to let people come on and make a point?
Come on.
All right. So if you want to come on, I'll put the link.
But let's only do a few because I want to watch a little of the night.
Yeah. We'll only bring on 3 people. I'm dropping the link in the chat.
When Bron lost to the Mavs, it made everything that was done in the regular
season. Let's do these last 2 super chats. When Hailey, you can read this one, please, if you don't.
Okay. D-Mart. When Bron lost to the Mavs, it made everything that was done in the regular season irrelevant, and missing games was okay as long as you made the playoffs.
When Bron lost to the Mavs, it made everything that was done in the regular season irrelevant, and missing games was okay as long as you made them.
That's not true.
Why would that have happened?
Well, it wouldn't make it irrelevant because not only did they make the finals, but they were the number 1 seed. So it wasn't irrelevant what they did in the regular season. So
that's like saying Suns did last season was irrelevant. Right. Like they were the number 1 seed. It's not the same because they didn't go.
Just because we were the number 1.
How often has a non-top 4 seed made the NBA final?
I think it was twice. Houston did it. Houston won it.
5 years.
Houston won it, and Houston won it in '95, right? Yeah, a non-top 4.
They were the 5 or 6 seed.
Yeah. I think Houston did it. I think San Antonio did it too.
So okay, you're struggling. So in 75 years, there's been, let's say, 2 or 3 times where. So yeah, the regular season clearly means something,
right? It matters. The best, more times than not, the best teams are playing in the NBA finals. Well, more times than not.
So I guess the regular season is irrelevant. Which is why the playing game is meaningless, because those are 7, 8, 9 seeds that never make the finals anyways.
Right.
So maybe I should stop complaining about it because maybe it just doesn't mean anything anymore.
I've always been all in on the regular season. Always.
Yeah, no, I'm with it. All right. What do you think? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Hailey.
No, go for it.
No.
Okay. What do you guys think of the 2000-2001 Bucks? I wasn't born yet, and I'd like to know a bit more about them during that conference finals run.
They had an awesome team, man. Big Dog was the guy on that team. Sam Cassell was the anchor in terms of he was their floor leader. Ray Allen was becoming that guy. He was in year 5 as that sharpshooter. And then they had dirty work guys like Darvingham. They were on their way to being something special. Absolutely, they were. They were on their way to being something special. They ran into a juggernaut in that Philadelphia team when they ended up running into Allen Iverson. But they were a really good team. I thought that they were actually going to beat Philadelphia because I thought that Ray Allen, I thought the Big Dog, and I thought that Sam Cassell were too much for him. But Allen was just too much for all 3 of those guys. He was awesome. That was one of the better series that I'd seen. That 2001 Eastern Conference Final. That was great.
Went 7 games, right?
Did.
That was
7 games.
People forget how good. I know you said Ray Allen was becoming that sharpshooter, but Ray Allen would take it to the hoop too. Like he was an all around really good player. And I think people sleep on Big Dog, Glenn Robinson, like how good he was. Haley's laughing because she's never heard of Glenn Robinson.
He averaged 20 a game for his career. He averaged 20 a game. He was
so ahead of his time.
What position?
Small forward.
Yeah.
Big Dog was awesome. He averaged 20 a game for his career.
I forgot about young Sam Cassell too. He was better than 6'7", small forward, could shoot, could like he was nice. He was
absolutely
nice.
They had a really good team.
I'm trying to see what because I feel like my memory serves me correct. Yeah, that season Okay, maybe one of his bad ones, but for his career, think about that. In 2000, he was a 34+% 3-point shooter. Yeah, I was remembering him hitting 36%. It was the year before. So yeah, like he was like a small forward that could shoot threes and could dunk it. Like he was.
Think big dog. Think Glenn Rice, except a better athlete.
Yes, that's a good comparison. All right, we're gonna bring in. I feel like I've seen Kareem before, so I'm gonna take a chance. Okay. Kareem, you got 30 seconds. How you doing, man? Go.
Yo, what's good, everyone? So, my topic is Chill saying that Ben Wallace wasn't the best defensive player. In my opinion, he was, and I'm gonna go over what you said about Tim Duncan being better than him. I'm gonna take Ben Wallace's best defensive year, which is 2004-2005, which he averaged 3 blocks per game and 2 steals, while Tim Duncan averaged 2.5 blocks and 1 steal. Plus, Ben Wallace was fundamental in that Detroit team, winning the championship, guarding the best centers in the league, especially Shaquille O'Neal, who's the most dominant player in the league at that time and ever in the history of the NBA. So that's why, in my opinion, Ben Wallace was the best defensive player in that year. Mm-hmm. And even like his prime years with Detroit, which was like 5-6 years, and he won 4 defensive players in those years. Mm-hmm. I feel like those were all deserved, and he was the best defensive player in the league that time. That's my opinion.
Now you remember too, Tone. This dude right here, he's a Detroit homer. So that's why he knows this.
Are you?
He's a Detroit guy. He's absolutely.
I'm okay with Homer stuff. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, he's a Detroit guy.
Are you a Piston fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not from Detroit though. I'm from Mexico.
He's from Mexico, but he's from Mexico. Yeah, he's from Mexico, but he's a Detroit guy, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
How? Okay, let's pause for a second. How you become a Detroit Pistons fan in Mexico?
Oh, okay. So when I was a kid, I went to my school library and they had 2 books of the Bad Boy Pistons and 2003 Pistons. So I read those books and I started to become a fan of the Pistons. And then I played NBA 2K14 with Josh Smith, Andre Drummond, and what's the power forward's name? Like the worst spacing in the league at that time. And I don't know why. As a little kid, I loved that team. Even though they were like a horrible team. So yeah, that's
okay. No, that's fair. That's fair. Mm-hmm. So yeah, listen. I think you can make a case for Ben Wallace being the best player in certain years. However, to have I think I shouldn't speak for Chill, but to have the Defensive Player of the Year award to a guy who was the best defensive player, let's say 4 or 5 years,
right,
is good. But there's guys who've been better defensively for longer. So would you? Let me ask you: Would you make it the Ben Wallace award?
It's kind of difficult because I don't know how the NBA is seeing it as, because I will give you that Ben Wallace didn't have that good of a longevity like as.
Why doesn't that matter? Why doesn't that matter? Because Tim Duncan had a 10-year stretch where in the 10 years he finished in the top 10 in Defensive Player of the Year all 10 times. Not only did he finish top 10, I'm not done. Not only did he finish top 10 Defensive Player of the Year, not only did he finish, he had a 5-year stretch where he finished in the top 5. 3 times he finished in the top 3. So. And this is a decade of that. Ben Wallace, on the other hand, had a 7-year stretch. That's it. Since you're talking about longevity, and since you're talking about a season that Ben Wallace had. Now, we're talking about Tim Duncan, who did this for an entire decade. This is why this is a conversation, as opposed to Ben Wallace just being the Defensive Player of the Year.
All right. I agree with you. I was saying that longevity matters. That's why I was saying he shouldn't be the defensive player of that's why I'm saying Hakeem deserves it. But I'm saying at that time where it was Ben Wallace and Tim Duncan, I'm saying that Ben Wallace in those 4 or 5 years was better than Tim Duncan at that time. But his longevity wasn't good. So that's why Hakeem deserves it, in my opinion, although I love Ben Wallace.
It was actually 6 times in 7 years Ben Wallace finished first to second.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he did do that. He did do that.
When he was in Wizards, he wasn't at his best. So that's why I would give it to Hakeem, because of the longevity.
All right. Appreciate you. Thanks for checking in from Mexico. Next
up,
take it light. Take it.
Hey.
Be easy.
Hey, I love it.
Be easy.
I love it.
All right, this one, I know this one's for you. I know this one's for you, Chill.
Oh yeah, here we go.
All right.
Yo.
You've been waiting. I've been
waiting for over a week, man. Like, Floyd, I ain't got no beef with you at all, man. But Chill, you said that the New Orleans Pelicans was a playing team.
So I did say they was a playing team. What gives you the logic? Hold on. Before we go any further, before the season started, what gives you the logic? A dude who missed the entire season last year. They don't have a lead guard. They're 5-man, who's probably their best rebounder, who was in and out of the lineup. What gives you the logic that we're talking about a team in New Orleans? What gives you the logic that they were the number 1 seed coming into this season? I'm all ears to hear that.
Well, what gave me the logic that they were a top seed, not the number 1 seed. The number 1 seed kind of surprised me, man. It was a whole bunch of number 1 seeds, but one was their roster. First off, you yourself was on TV. I seen you. You was on TV on ESPN. You was sidelining for Herb Jones, who you said was going to be an all-league defender. He missed games. Him, B.I., Brandon Ingram, CJ, they all missed games. And I seen what Zion been doing, and I said it. I was like, yo, listen, Zion get a squad around him, and I'm looking at the others. Alvarado is making a name for himself. Trey Murphy is one of the best shooters in the league right now.
Right.
By far.
Right.
And since Zion been having the ball in his hands, yes, you can call it the Point Zion episode. But the Point Zion episode, Brandon Ingram, when the time that he was in there, he was shooting 47% from 3. Then you got Najee Marshall. Then you got Larry Nance playing better, because Valanciunas can't really stay on the court once everything started getting spread out.
Right.
So you got him spreading better, and now you're looking at Zion numbers going up as the weeks progress.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't even have their full squad. All did the Utah Jazz did dub them this couple of days ago. That game is on right now. I'm watching that on my phone, because 2K just gave me my NBA TV. But they like I'm looking at it from a standpoint. I already came into the season knowing that the Warriors was gonna have issues. We came into the season.
Stop right there. What was the issues that the Warriors are gonna have? It's the world champs, by the way. What was the issue that they were gonna have?
The issues that they was gonna have was the Draymond situation that Ticket TV batted you in your head about for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nobody listened.
Batted in your head about what? What's the issue? What's the issue? Draymond really, like, with the situation that happened with him and Jordan Poole, like, and nobody on the squad really that hasn't affected their crew. No, that has not affected their crew.
Sure?
Yes, absolutely. What has it done? Tell us what it's done.
So why are they underperforming? Why are they underperforming then?
That has nothing to do with it. You see Draymond.
So it has to do with it.
It was awkward, maybe game 1, game into game 2, but like that hasn't caused any dissension.
No, it hasn't. It has not.
So you think the guy, because when someone punches someone in the face,
right,
the way that he did, whether it creates a separation in the locker room. So you think there's no issue with the Poole camp versus the Draymond camp?
Not on the floor, I don't. Off the floor, we talking about something completely different. On the floor, off the floor, we talking about something completely different. On the floor, I don't see anything. I don't see any problem between those two.
I'm looking for it from two different sides. On the Draymond side of it, as Fluent was speaking of, that's really the start lineup. The start lineup, all right, fine. Whenever Draymond's on the floor, I guess you could say, like, all right, they playing much, much better by the numbers. You could say that. But on the Jordan Poole side of it, these dudes is acting like they went from having confidence last year to where Jordan Poole was going crazy. Kuminga was playing good minutes. I thought Gary Payton II was a terrible. They should have definitely locked him in for something. But I thought, like, everything on their side, the bench part of this, like, that's not working for them right now. And now that Curry is out, it could be worse.
You didn't foresee that. You didn't foresee that before the season started, though. You didn't. You did not see you did not foresee the bench not being this good before the season started. No, you didn't. But let's get back to the question at hand here. You were talking about the Lakers. Okay, so you said the Lakers are having problems, right? So we were worried about Anthony Davis not being healthy, right? I get that part. But who else though?
I was worried about LeBron not being healthy because he ain't been healthy since he got to the Lakers.
Started breaking down to 18, 19. Okay, that's two teams.
I think Darvin Ham is getting the most out of Russ right now,
right,
than anybody is getting. One of the reasons because this is his contract year. Russ really ain't got no choice.
Right.
So my thing, and when I look at the others, I seen that game the other night against the Celtics. First off, Boston is trash because they should have won that game by at least 40. Trash. What they did, they should have won that game by at least 40, and you know it, man.
They should have beat them by 40. Tell me why they should have beat them by 40.
I agree with that, though. They should have beat them by more. And then you guys just coming off 2 losses as well on the road.
Not only that, they had to deal with a dude who went 37-12 against them. So explain to me how they should have beat them by 40. Explain
because
that.
They was already up by 20 and they still shooting threes. And
the NBA, as you and I both know, if you watch the game, I'm sure you do, you know that the game is the part of the game is a part of runs. So teams go on runs. No question about that. Do teams go on runs? Yes, they do. No, you don't understand that because you're telling me that no, you don't. Because if you did, then you wouldn't say that they would beat them by 40. Because if they would beat them by 40, that means that they would maintain a 30-point lead for the entire game. And that's not going to happen because teams go on runs.
I understand that, but the part of the reason why they went on the run is because Boston shot themselves in the foot. They kept shooting three.
That's what teams do. That's what teams do.
A top team. This is a team that we supposed to be.
Call them trash. You just call them trash. They're at the top of the league. You just call them trash. That's what you just said. But let's get back to let's get back to New Orleans.
Give you guys a second to breathe for a second. Actually, keep going.
Let's get back to New Orleans. So the Lakers, you said they were going to have issues. Okay, I get with that. You said that. Who else was it? The Warriors were going to have issues. Now, who else we talking about?
Now, outside of them two, everything else was right. The Clippers too. The Clippers was another team that was going to have issues because. Obviously, y'all always talk about Kawhi being questionable, and we starting to see it. He's only playing like maybe 20, 25 minutes or whatever. I don't know what's going on with that. So that to me let the Western Conference add in some new teams. If you look at the standings, all of these teams that's like and from 1 to 8 are fairly new in terms of like being at the top. Mm-hmm. You had Utah at the top for one moment, which I still believe in them. I still think they got a lot of juice left. I'm gonna get that in a minute.
I'm strong.
Yeah, definitely. I've been on the Utah. New Orleans. I think New Orleans found out that they have an advantage with Zion. It's like you said, he a bruiser. He could get to his spot whenever, however, wherever. And now you done add a whole bunch of 3-and-D guys around them, and the defense is their team defense is much better. If I'm not mistaken, I think they top 5 in defensive net rating. And probably top 5 in other defensive categories as well. So my thing is like the only team I really see them having a problem with in the playoffs is probably Memphis, because I think Memphis match up with them in terms of like battling on the boards and making sure to keep Zion out and not have him do as much.
So they might be Memphis, a Western. So they could be a Western Conference. So they can be a Western Conference Finals team.
Yes, definitely could be. But,
I'm gonna look for that.
But as far as I'm concerned, man, like I don't see no reason as of right now. I got the Pelicans coming out of the West.
So you got them in the finals?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
We'll see about that.
So we'll see, man. Appreciate you. We got time for one more. Man. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
Definitely.
We're bringing in Nose.
My bad.
Now you go there, Boogie.
Sorry. What up?
All right, he's got
a hot take. I know it's gonna be a hot.
He's got a hot take about Miami.
Yeah, so I am a firm believer in that Dallas Mavericks team, and that won the title was better than that Heat team. Up and down the roster, if you go just player for player, the top 4 players, 3 of them belong to Miami. No argument there. After that, the next 6 to 7 players that play in that series are the Mavs on the Mavs, right? Look at the that Heat bench, worst bench in the league. Mike Miller was coming back from that back injury. He was pretty much done. Mike Miller was finished. Mario Chalmers. I mean, who was this? Joel Anthony was starting. Mm-hmm. Like, let's be serious. Okay, so then you go over to that Mavs team.
Why else? Never disrespect a Canadian basketball player ever again. Fluent and chill.
Not okay.
I feel like in the lead up to that series, maybe not over the course of the season, but to the lead up to that series, as you rank those players, it's going to be Bron, Dirk, Wade, Bosh. I was under the impression, of course, Bron is going to do what Bron does, but Bosh, of course, would be the weaker link. obviously didn't turn out like that. Bron didn't quite show up the way he needed to show up. They had a good scheme, played 4 out. I really wish he would have probably guarded Dirk a little bit more, but I don't think he really took on that challenge. He tried to guard Jason Terry, which was a little bit out of his wheelhouse, trying to chase Jason Terry around. I think that wore him down in that series. On top of that, the Mavs were a better coach team. Rick Carlisle, Dwayne Casey, Terry Stotts. You have Eric Spoelstra, rookie coach. I think Fizdale was on that bench, another rookie guy. So they didn't have any know-how really on that bench. So I don't think that was really a comparable coaching experience. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra is a great coach, Hall of Fame guy, absolutely. But at that point, Rick Carlisle is a better coach. And when you add in that staff, Stotts, Casey, I don't even think it's close.
Spo wasn't there yet. Spo was becoming
he wasn't
there.
He turned into what he turned into. Absolutely. Yeah. No,
he was becoming that guy.
He is now. But then, no, he wasn't really ready.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to that roster, Dirk, Kidd, Tyson Chandler wasn't the depoy that year. I think the next year when he went to New York, he ended up being the depoy, but he was a depoy kind of guy. But
Kidd was 108 years old.
Who?
Jason Kidd. He was over. Jason Kidd was on the other side.
But you said Kidd.
No, I'm just bringing in the
No, I know. I just want to make it clear that when you say Kidd, people think Nets Kid. It
wasn't,
not
that dude. He wasn't that dude.
No,
He was not that dude.
Shooter, control the offense, make sure everybody needs to go. General. That's really what he was at that point.
Right.
Obviously, he wasn't what Jason Kidd in the Nets. Not even.
And for Joel Anthony being a starter. You also had JJ Barea being a starter, or Deshaun Stevenson. I think they each started 3 games in the finals. So it's not like.
No. Fair enough, but Deshaun Stevenson was a decent defender. Joel Anthony was just out there on the court doing cardio. Let's be honest. That whole bench unit was doing cardio.
And JJ Barea was doing jumping jacks. What was the point?
Well, he was doing them pretty well because he was doing jumping jacks on that whole roster. So
I will agree that the idea that Jason Terry kind of had his way with James because James was so bad offensively, it dictated what he was doing defense.
Yeah, it threw him off. He wasn't.
Hold on, I gotta understand. So your point is that the Mavs had a better roster than the Heat.
Yeah, the team was better, and I just laid out.
When you mentioned the second, third, you gave Nowitzki being the best player, which
no, I said he was the second best player in that series.
Okay, so when 3 of the 4 best players on the court are on one team.
And then they basically play 3-on-5 the entire series. Look at that Heat bench. Tell me what that Heat bench did in that series, that season. That was the worst bench in the league.
Well, there was finals, 3
players that
in the finals. Chalmers, Haslam, House, Mike Miller did about as good as JJ Barea, Deshaun Stevenson, Ian Mahinmi, who actually played, and Brian Cardinal. So, I would actually say the Heat had a better.
Those guys weren't playing significant time. Joel Anthony was a starter, so to compare him to Brian Cardinal, but look at the difference in minutes, so that's not really a comparable. Joel Anthony had to play, and for him to win that series, they need to play well. Right, so back to that Mavs offense, you playing 4 out. James is not really in the position to guard the way he likes to guard. He's chasing somebody around for the most part when he's guarding Jason Terry.
Joel Anthony played 20 minutes a game.
Okay, and
Mahinmi and Hayward. Brandon Hayward combined played 20 minutes a game. So you know what? I'm actually taking Joel Anthony over Mahinmi and Hayward.
No, I'm not, because his starting 20 minutes, he's playing against a starting unit. He's not playing.
Not when you're when you're playing 20 minutes, you're starting the game, and then you're playing 5 minutes a quarter.
Okay, and then when Joel Anthony came off the court, who came off the court?
He's there for 6 fouls and a big body.
Absolutely. Who came in the game after Joel Anthony went out?
I have no idea.
Exactly.
Who you tell me?
It doesn't matter. That's what
It was Haslam. It was Haslam.
Okay, and that
who's better than Mahinmi and Hayward? Listen, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we're going to end it. At the end of the day, because we're out of time.
But they obviously weren't, because they lost. So how good were they?
Do you know why they lost? Because the only player who didn't play the way he was supposed to play, LeBron James. That's why they lost. Because if he plays to his regular
team that was better.
Season, They win.
Team, and they lost to a better
Miami's
team.
the better team. Miami was the more talented team, and they lost to the lesser talented team. And why did they lose to the lesser talented team? Because your best player shit the bed. That's why they lost 3
straight games. They were so much talent.
Yes or no? If LeBron plays to LeBron standards,
wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The roster that you just mentioned, and we got to go. The roster that you mentioned, the roster that you mentioned, when you match up everything, because Tone, you just laid it out. Everything that they had, we had. Brandon, everything that they had, we had. So what does this boil down to at the end of the day? My best player was better than your best player. Period.
Yeah, it ultimately the team was a better team.
No. Once again, Tone, if I'm making sure I understand this correctly, Tone, you just mapped it out. Brandon Haywood, everything that Dallas had, Miami had in terms of a team. So where's the separator? The separator is very simple. My best player is better than your best player. Dirk Nowitzki is better than LeBron James.
If you're comparing best player to best player, Dirk completely
that's where the divide comes in.
100%.
So
that's where the divide comes in.
Okay, so let me just say this real quick. I know you guys are going. I don't want to hold you too long. So pretty much, in your guys' opinion, the rosters typically even out. You would say is what I'm gathering.
I would say that if you're talking about bench, and if you want to make an argument that the Mavs had a bit better bench, I'm not going to make a big argument, although I don't agree. But the Heat were so much better the top three.
No. Again, that's why I led that. That's why
the Dallas top 3 that the bench shouldn't have made a difference. Shouldn't have made a difference in the series.
So comparable rosters, the separator was the 2 best players. So comparable rosters, team that had the better play in the series won. The better team won.
No.
Every time a team wins, technically the better team won because they won. But the
better team won. I understand.
Miami's the better team.
No, so the better team lost 3 straight games.
Correct. The more talented team. Sorry, let me change it. The more talented team.
Oh, that was my argument. Was never being more talented.
Right. It was a better team. Your logic was always the better team, and the better team because my best player played better than your best player. That's where the separator comes in. All the other stuff that you brought in, it was even. All the stuff that you brought in was even. The separator is my best player was better than your best player.
My best player outplayed your best player. Absolutely.
That breaks down to the better team. All right, fellas. Thank you.
That's fair.
Later. All right. That's
nice.
More fluent.
There you go.
By the logic of the best team won.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
When you say, Tone, when you say the best team won, basically what you're saying is that my team outplayed your team. And no, that's not true. That's not it. No, what happened was it was pretty fair between my team and your team outside of my best player and your best player.
Here's the thing. The better team was the Miami Heat going into the series.
Correct.
The best player on that better team played garbage, and so the Mavs won. And yes, at the end of it, you could say, well, they were the better team, they won, but that's not how we do this. Like we always say, the team that won. If I beat you 1-on-1 in tennis, I'm the better tennis player.
Correct.
Cool, but it's a bit of a play on words. It's a little word semantics. So again, we have to talk about going in. Going in, the Heat were the better team, and their best player did not live up to his standards because if they played to their level of play, they would win that series 9 times out of 10 because they're the better team. Correct. Just so happened, LeBron was thinking about moving. I don't know what he was doing. He missed Cleveland or something. I don't know what was wrong with him. All right.
Michael
Hailey, sorry, go ahead.
Michael in the chat, he clarified, like he wasn't talking about the most talented team. I don't think anyone would agree that they weren't the most talented team. So
I'm glad.
But I feel you.
They're the better team. Let me just be clear. Miami was the better team. The only the difference was Dallas won, so now you can call them the better team. Miami was the better team.
And to answer your question,
more talented.
And we're going to get going, guys. But to answer ZBT's question, Chill, how was that your goal after a series like that? I'm glad you mentioned that. The reason why, the reason why is because he could have folded up like a lawn chair after that. Only except the next year he comes back, he's better. And then the next year after that, he comes back and he's better. And he does that for the rest of his career instead of folding up like a lawn chair and just basically fading into oblivion. That's why. So, on that note, Tony Tone, my man, H Boogie, it's on you.
Yeah. I'm gonna go watch the rest of my Niners kick the Seahawks ass. This is going so well. Hopefully, I didn't just jinx it.
No, you didn't. We're doing great.
Let's lock up the NFC West tonight. And chat, get those likes up. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I know as the season starts to heat up, we get closer to Christmas, we're gonna have a ton to talk about. So always drop any questions you have in the comments, after we post videos as well. We'll read those. And yeah, any last words, Tone?
Yeah, no, I have last words because Chill has one last word, but I have my last word. Z-Dub, you're incorrect. You sound like a LeBron fan making excuses. It wasn't the coaching, it was Bron. Yeah, go ahead.
Just say it, man. James was garbage in that series, and he'll tell you that.
Why can't Bron?
I'm a James guy, and I'm saying it. He was garbage.
Trash. Period.
All right, Jay, take it away.
Take it light, but take it.